everyone. I'm Klaudia Tirico, editor of Demand Gen Report, and I am back yet again with another episode of CXO Conversations. With me today is Ravi Chalaka, CMO of Jifflenow. Ravi, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today. It's great to see you again.
Klaudia, it's a pleasure to see you, and thank you for having me on this show.
Yeah, I'm so excited to talk to you. I know we spoke a little bit last year on a very similar topic, and I'm really eager to, share it with our audience today. But to kick things off, tell me a little bit about Jifflenow and what you guys do.
Absolutely. Love to do that. So, every business, especially the business-to-business, B2B kind, have to meet with their prospects or customers in order to promote their business or sale. Especially the sales team does it, but that function is supported by marketing and a whole lot of other people in order to help the company grow their business. What Jifflenow does, the category we call it is meeting automation platform. There is a whole lot of platforms in marketing, the whole tech stack. It feels like the last frontier, which is all manual operation in many, many companies. We have now created a platform which is called the meeting automation platform, because if you're doing 10 meetings, it's one thing. But if you're doing hundreds of meetings throughout the year, you need something to automate it rather than having to use helpers to coordinate that and avoid any errors. So whether it's scheduling, managing, reporting, all of that comes in this automation platform, and it can be scalable and secure and, most importantly, integrated with the entire ecosystem. That's what Jifflenow does.
Very cool. And I know we're going to be getting really deep into meetings today for sure. But talk to us about your role as CMO. How long have you been in the role? And what have been some of your key priorities and learnings so far?
Oh, I'd love to talk about that. Yes, specifically with Jifflenow, I've been here almost 3 years as the Chief Marketing Officer. And it's been exciting because it's in the new world. It's all software as a service and automation and algorithms and AI and all these new things that we're doing that long ago we didn't. But as a head of marketing, I've been in this role for almost 15 plus years at different companies, both large and small. You asked about what are some of the trends or how has the role evolved. The primary purpose of what marketing does is to help the business drive demand. You take your product or service and you look at the market opportunity, you identify the market opportunity, you identify the right way to reach that market, develop a strategy, and create demand for it. Demand Gen Report is exactly the right definition of what marketing does, right? Besides other things. Now, you asked, what are some of the top priorities? And to me, the biggest priority is, adapting to the rapid change that's going on right now. I mean, 10 years ago, life was very different as a head of marketing. You needed teams and programs that run all manually. Today, 90% of the effort is digital, if not 100%. And given COVID, this whole thing has accelerated even more. And the collaboration with sales and other functions are extremely important because it's all a team effort, a team game. But what we're looking at is new technologies, digitization, and customers are no longer wanting to start their journey with talking to a salesperson. They want to do all the research, get everything done, and then they identify the best companies. So we need to be in that top 2 or 3 list and be able to enable them to engage with us. And that's really what CMOs are now most concerned about. Are we engaging with the right customers in the most efficient way possible when they need to talk to us?
I love that. And yeah, I've definitely seen that CMO role really grow and evolve, especially throughout all of last year and going into 2021 for sure. So I'm excited to see how it'll even expand even more. So like I mentioned earlier, we briefly spoke about this topic, and I'm not really sure if too many people out there are familiar with it. I know everybody is familiar with the MQL, the Marketing Qualified Lead. But now you've brought up a new kind of acronym called the MQM, which is the Marketing Qualified Meeting. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about that. Why is it important? And yeah, any details that you could share for our audience about why this new acronym should be, in focus for everyone.
Absolutely. If you look at in the last decade or even before that, the bane of our marketing's existence, especially when it comes to demand gen, was generate as many marketing qualified leads and hand them off to sales as much as you can, and that's how your KPIs were measured. How many qualified leads, not just any lead, your prospects and contacts, you convert them, warm them, you do email campaign, you do all kinds of campaigns, you do events, but you then find the qualified ones that meet a certain criteria and then you hand them to sales. Guess what? That is not enough in today's world. Because what is happening to the 10,000 leads that you generated last quarter and handed it off to your salespeople? 90% of them are not converting into an opportunity. So we're saying you've come 90% of the way, but you missed the last 10%. So marketing needs the extra effort that's needed to be able to then convert these leads into actually meetings. When a customer is saying, I want to meet one of your experts, I want to meet one of your executives, he's already done his homework. Now that customer is serious. So a salesperson using their time to organize that or meet with them is far more valuable time than dealing with the 10,000 leads that they've been delivered. So we're not saying MQLs are not important, but don't stop short. And then at that, your KPI, your return on investment as a company, our marketing team needs to be measured based on MQMs, not just MQLs.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I couldn't agree more. It's funny because for a really long time, you assume somebody filled out a form to download a white paper and they're automatically a lead, right? And I'm actually a perfect example of it because as an editor, I'm constantly doing research. I'm reading other white papers and doing things like that. So I do fill out those forms, but I'm not the one buying technology for demand gen report or anything like that. So I would not be that qualified lead, but yeah, I still get so many emails of people requesting meetings with me to go over my demand generation strategy. And I'm just like, oh, that's me. That's not me. I don't want to talk about that right now. So yeah, I mean, you definitely have said in the past, I think our last conversation, you said MQMs are the new MQL, but honestly, both are important in this sense, right?
Absolutely, they are. You couldn't get an MQM if you didn't have an MQL. It's sort of the prerequisite for an MQM. So you have this classic funnel that everyone has. You start with maybe 100,000, and some large companies it could be 1 million contacts that you have, and not everyone is ready to buy, and you nurture them through different marketing programs. You could do an ad campaign, you can do a social media campaign, you do events, all that. Then customers then travel through the journey, and at some point, a qualified customer is now considered, hey, they met all the basics. They are the right target. They have the budget. They are ready to speak. Now, if you just hand that off, many a times it turns into a cold lead because time is of the essence. If you wait with a lead 3 months, he's already bought it from someone else or he's moved on with other thing, he or she. And so you want to add the component of generating a qualified meeting as part of your campaign, whatever campaign you're running. It could be a series of sessions on a roadshow. It could be a large corporate conference. You want to utilize that opportunity to then convert them into meetings when they're ready for it. And that's the point is, you now want to measure not only how many leads you generated, you also want to measure how many meetings you generated. And here, you don't stop there. Not just the number of meetings is important. Many marketing people say the it's the quality of meetings, right? And it is to be, what is the value of that meeting? Is this a customer? Let's say I'm selling a large equipment, a medical device. I'm a healthcare company. I want to know that I spoke to 20 customers, and each of them the opportunity is worth $500,000 or $1 million, which means I have a $10 million opportunity pipeline that I created with these meetings, and that is a much better measure than I have 500 leads.
Gotcha. Very,
Yeah.
very cool. So Any best practices that you could share? How can teams integrate MQMs into their current initiatives? How can they get started? What is necessary? Any best practices for even generating more MQMs?
Yes, you need an automation platform, clearly, and without necessarily pitching our old product. Basically, what you need, let's say you're responsible for running a large conference. You're inviting people to the conference, whether it be it virtual or in person. Today, everything is virtual. Don't just invite them and have them browse around your virtual event, listen to a keynote and breakout session and walk away. You give them opportunities to meet with your experts. It's a simple click of a button. You put them in the appropriate places across all your product line, your entire system, and they click on it and they get to request a meeting with an expert right there. So now, instead of handing the lead off to the salesperson, you're actually allowing the attendee of that event to ask for a meeting with an expert, and they can define, I'm interested in this topic, I'm from this region, and automatically a confirmation email is sent out to them saying you're booked for a meeting. It's just like getting a doctor's appointment with a click of a button, right? That kind of stuff. Now, it doesn't have to be an event. It can be a marketing campaign. It could be any kind of marketing effort where you need a follow-on step. And when you implement a meeting automation platform as part of that, you know all those who registered for that particular campaign or event. Now, easily you can generate a form which then helps them request a meeting. That's one way of doing it. We call that inbound meeting, when a attendee or a campaign prospect requests a meeting. It can also be outbound. The sales guy knows who are all attending your event or campaign. He can say, that's an opportunity I've been tracking. Let me schedule a meeting with an expert because the customer is interested. So we call that outbound. So this platform allows for both inbound meeting requests as well as outbound meeting requests, and it automates the process.
Fascinating. That's very cool. So I know alignment between marketing and sales is a struggle. It has been for quite some time. It's always a big topic. Everybody must be aligned. So what advice would you give teams that are in that boat, that they're struggling to really get on the same page with other, teams across the organization? How can they better collaborate and get those MQMs?
Yeah, I think ultimately, if you see successful companies and not so successful companies, I can quickly say in this company we're successful, they're collaborating between sales and marketing, and this one they're still struggling to work things out. When we talk about collaboration, it's extremely important to understand the activities of marketing that contribute to the success of sales and therefore the success of the company. And it all boils down to this one word, pipeline. So if we, as marketing people, understand what is the pipeline, not revenue, because pipeline is a leading indicator for revenue. Revenue comes later. If we understand what are the products that they're dealing with, what are the customer markets they're dealing with, what is the pipeline, and contribute to adding to that pipeline or advancing the pipeline, if all our goals are met to that, I think the relationship and the collaboration will be between marketing and sales will be fantastic. The minute we limit ourselves to this side of the wall, my black box, I'll give you some leads and you go deal with it, I don't even know what the pipeline means, then there's a disconnect between the two. That is the key word that connects the two organizations.
Awesome. So my final question on MQMs, any other benefits of tracking them? What do you see as, the future of MQMs? Any other additional unique ways that B2B organizations have worked to increase their MQM volume, especially in this noisy world?
Yes. If you look at the tenure of CMOs, it's usually much shorter than most other functions. Why? Because ultimately the CEO of the company wants to see that the investment they're making, because marketing is an investment, investment they're making is returning. Unless marketing can demonstrate that they're contributing to the bottom line and the top line of the company, most importantly the top line, the function can constantly get regurgitated or changed. So what I would give as an advice to CMOs, I'm sure many of them understand this already, is not only to believe in it, but to perpetuate that belief throughout their organization. Whether you're managing the corporate marketing team, the demand gen team, the social media team, ultimately measure them with just one or two important measures and make sure that measure is how much opportunity have we advanced for our business by pipeline, by region, by account. If you're not giving that, all other data is meaningless. And that's to me the biggest learning as a CMO is be a significant contributor to the organization's success by helping with the pipeline. And in order to help pipeline, the best tool you have today is helping generate marketing qualified meetings. I'm
I
not
love
saying
it.
you stop everything else, but make sure you measure your success based on that.
Awesome. So the title of this series is CXO Conversations. So one of my favorite questions to ask all of our guests is, what other conversations or what kind of conversations are you having with other CMOs or other C-level executives, whether it's people on your team in the C-suite or just outside externally, whether it's your peers and friends on LinkedIn? What are some top questions that you're hearing? How are priorities shifting? What are stress levels like?
Oh boy, we could do a whole session on just that alone. But let me think top of mind kind of thoughts, right? What has happened in the last decade is we've been adding more and more digital technologies and the marketing stack to make sense of all these. But that has not only solved some problems, it has also contributed to new challenges that we have to deal with. As simple as they're all diverse systems. How do you keep them integrated? The integration. I need a marketing IT person or a team that keeps track of what happens when. And not only do we have to integrate within the marketing systems, I also have to integrate with Salesforce or CRM or other tools that we are dependent on. And so that is one the technology has become a major conversation point for CMOs that I hear. The second one is what we kind of touched about earlier is the 60% of the journey is completed before a customer even reaches out to you.
Mm-hmm.
How do you influence that? How do you make the most? You're not going to be able to spend, $100,000 and see an immediate return. You have to invest in a journey at different stages, and how do you maximize the return on investment? How do they all work together? So those are the two big questions I hear a lot, or when I talk to my colleagues and other companies, and it's been a struggle. And now they are looking at, for example, I'll give you ABM has been like the biggest story. I want account-based marketing, but to date,
Yeah.
no one company I feel like is doing it exactly the way another company is doing it. They're all having to customize this. It's still an evolving solution, but the need is there. So overall, it's the technology challenges and the changing behavior of your customer have to kind of match up. And just when you think you figured it out, things change again, whether it's with Google search or some other technology that you're using.
Yeah, and that technology landscape just keeps growing and growing, right? I'm curious to see how much it's grown, this year. I just feel like there's no more room on it. You need a huge magnifying glass, and I could imagine it being very hard to navigate.
Right.
Um, yeah. Well, Ravi, final question for you as we close things out. What's next for Jifflenow? What are some key priorities for 2021? What strategies are you focusing on? Any new product launches? What can you tell me?
Oh, there's a lot going on in the world of meetings. It looks like suddenly the whole world has woken up in a way thanks to COVID that you still need to meet customers in order to progress your business. You can't just say, okay, we can take it easy. We don't have any way of going out, flying out and meeting with them. You still have to meet them, whether it's
Yeah.
virtual or hybrid or in person. So we're changing all of our technology to be adaptive to a hybrid world because it's not going to come back to the same normal that we had in 2019. It's going to go to a new normal, which you've heard many, many times, is that the world is going to have a mix. Some people are just not going to travel for the next 3 years for no can do, and there are others who are, ready to, their suitcases packed. They just have to get a ticket and move on, right? So we have to accommodate for both in a very new world. And so we are evolving our product lines to by persona. If you are a marketing person, what do you need? And that's not it. If you're a salesperson, what do you need? If you are an expert or an executive, what do you need? How do you make all your lives about engaging with your external contacts, whether it's a partner, customer, as simple as possible with a few clicks? And that's what we want to do. You can wake up at 11 a.m. and say, oh my God, I have to meet this customer. Click, click, and I'm done. It's all set for you, and you have the right people in there. That's where we're going with this.
I love it. And I can't wait to see what else comes up and throughout the year. So Ravi, that is all the questions I have for you. Thank you so much for your thoughtful answers and great energy. This was a really great conversation. And thank you to everyone watching. That is a wrap on another episode of CXO Conversations. I hope to see you next time.